Good morning, everyone. So good to see all of you. Thank you very much for attending and being here, all of us together. The story that I told earlier was a story that I saw on Facebook. There's a little icon. You can go over there and get off of just your friends and everything, and you click on that, and then there's these little short excerpts from different things. Some of them are television shows, and some of them are just funny things that happen or jokes that people have written in and so forth. But this one was a little excerpt from a show that comes on. It's a live television show that comes on, and it has a judge, a African American judge. And I've seen him many times, and he's just wonderful to see. He's a real judge, and it's like one of those 10 minutes to Wapner kind of people. So he's got these people in front of him, and one man over to his left as he's facing the two podiums. One is dressed in a military uniform, a Marine uniform, and the other one is a police officer. And the military guy is suing the police officer for misconduct or something, or hurting him in some way. And he's wearing his full uniform. And so as they begin, the guy's talking, and he says, well, I was a Marine, and this occurred to me, and so forth. And suddenly the judge says, wait, step out from behind that podium. Let me see your full uniform. And he looks at him, he says, those aren't regulation shoes you're wearing. Your pants, the cuff is wrong. He starts describing the uniform. The medals that you've got on there and the pins, some of them are upside down. You're a fake. You're not real. You know how I knew immediately that you were a fake? You said I was a Marine. A real Marine would say I am a Marine forever, because you carry that with you, that idea that you are a Marine. You chose this. You did not shirk it. You stayed with it. You survived it, but when you left the Corps, that didn't mean you stopped being a Marine. You will be a Marine for the rest of your life. You're a fake, and if I had the authority to be able to send you to the military right now, they could charge you with being a fraud and being someone wearing a rented uniform. Doesn't even look right, the way you're wearing it. So you're dismissed. Your case is dismissed. You're out of here. End of story. I love that part though. You said I was a Marine. You didn't say I am. And that fits right in with the way that we view everything in unity. We say I am, and we use I am in a way that is positive. We do not use it in a past tense way. And we do not say things like that. I hear all the time, and so do you. Somebody will say, well, I'm afraid that just didn't sit well with me. I am afraid. You can say I am concerned, or I am, many other things, but not fear. You can't put fear and lock it together with the I am. A little side note there that I just wanted to put in that I think is necessary for us to always remember, that as we speak, the universe is listening, the universe is watching, the universe hears, and when we lock that in, we must use I am in a positive way, the way that truth really has it aligned. Because I am, as we know, is, according to the scripture in Moses, who shall I say sent me? He asks of this burning bush, and the bush says, tell them I am sent you. I am. That's very important. But I am also indicates, just like in that lesson about the I was a Marine, I am is not something to be associated with fear or lack or anything else. It's something that's supposed to be associated with the truth of our being. Now, remember this. When we speak of this day, and we all talked about this at the very beginning, we have to remember that it originally was called Decoration Day as opposed to Memorial Day. That didn't change until 1971, which to me and you and many of us here was seems like it's just a couple of months ago, doesn't it? In 1971. Well, uh, it started in 1865. A group of women decided to lay in honor of the those who had passed in battle to go and lay flowers and flags on the graves of those who were there in the that had fought in battles and were no longer present in the living form. And of course, we know that group of women traveled to Gettysburg and did this, and that's where it first started. Now, there were other people doing similar things in the South, but they were honoring the dead of their people who were mainly Confederate soldiers. You know, it doesn't matter. People who have given their lives and put themselves in danger and then passed are to be honored in that sense. But in my mind, they're honored for a senseless way of dying, war. Something that we could really look at and decide, what is the honor in that? Well, it is that they chose to give their lives for whatever it was that they believed in strongly. But what a senseless way to make a decision like that. People who never go into battle making decisions for those who have to have the bombs go off, the grenades go off, all those different kinds of weapons, rifle balls, bullets, all that whizzing by. There was a movie called, I believe it was called The Thin Red Line or The Red Line. I don't know if any of you remember that, but it had a different viewpoint of war and battles than I had ever experienced before. It experienced it from the side of the person of the group of men who were moving forward towards their quote enemy, and they could hear the bullets zip, and they had that in the movie, this zip, and then they also had places where they would do stop motion and show the bullet right next to the person's head as it went by, and then slowly see them turn their head and think, that could have been me. I had a friend who was in the Vietnam conflict who said he was out on a patrol, and during this patrol, something clicked and he heard this sound and he turned his head to see what it was, and as he turned his head, he felt the concussion of the wind of a bullet just miss him. And if he hadn't turned his head, it would have hit here. Instead, it went right by. He wondered about that all his life, and he told me that story one evening. And I thought, what a senseless way. What a profoundly profane way for people to judge all of that. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with the person who is experiencing it. I'm just saying there's something wrong with the experience itself. Something that we should definitely take a look at as individuals and as a group. War. What a way to solve a problem or to approach a problem. What a way. But that doesn't mean that we don't continue to honor those who have passed. We do. I remember as a little child, about 4 or 5 years old, going out and seeing my relatives go to the graves of these people that they had lost, going from one cemetery to another sometimes. We had one cemetery in my town called Memorial Cemetery, and that held mostly soldiers and people who had died in military conflict or died with military honors of some sort. Do you remember? Do any of you have the memory of any of that as I do, of going with your relatives to do that? If you do, you may remember there were these little cones, wrapped metal cones, that they would stick down in the ground and then put flowers in it, mostly wild flowers or flowers that they'd gathered around their home. And they would put those flowers in there with a little drink of water. And sometimes they would have a small flag that they would put there. And it was really something to behold as a child, to watch that and think, what are they doing? It's pretty, but what is it? What's it about? And then later realizing who these people were. You know, my aunt, she was my great aunt actually, raised my mother and her two brothers who were abandoned after their father had died. The mother had taken up with somebody else, and there was alcoholism involved in this whole group of people. But as this happened, she left the three children behind with no one to care for them. Just left. Went on a what we used to call a jag, if any of you remember that term. She just went on a drunken jag. So while she was out partying and having fun, she forgot all about her children. Well, my aunt drove, which was a long ways back in those days, 80 miles to pick up these three children and bring them back to their home, to her home. She was a single parent. Her children were grown, her three children, and so she took on three more children. And one of the boys, the oldest, was Robert, but they always didn't call him Robert, they called him Junior. And his whole life he was called Junior. One night during World War II, which he had enlisted for, and he was in the army, she had been getting letters from him explaining what's going on as best he could. Of course, all the letters were redacted in those times. They called it censored for military reasons, and you had to be very careful what you said about where you were and what was going on. She got a letter, and then at the regular time she expected a letter, she didn't get one, and she was wondering what was going on. That night, or a couple of nights later, I'm not sure what, it was an old story, she suddenly woke up and said, "Something's happened to Junior." She was connected. She was connected on a deeper or a higher level, a level of love. And that's why I brought it up in our opening prayer. Love, the only thing that is real and constant in our lives. This attachment, deep attachment. And the next letter she received was a letter from the Defense Department saying, he's missing in action. And then later, he's gone. I remember going down to the little train station and waiting for the train to come in, going with her and with my mother and with her other brother, Billy Neal, because we were from the South. You've always pronounced both names. My mother's name was Winnie Majon, Wynema, Chickasaw name. But everyone called her Nema, shortened it down. And the train arrived. And then this big boxcar opened. And this trolley, I don't remember what you called them at the train stations in those days, was pulled up by a man wearing a uniform. And the casket with the flag on it was loaded onto that. These are memories. Memories that I, as a child, held and still hold. Memories that have the entire picture that I pictured in my mind as a child, impressed into my mind, impressed into my feeling nature. They're still there. Going to the grave sites every year. Sometimes within the year. That person's birthday or some special day that occurred. All of these memories that I hold, you probably hold as well. You have these ideas within you. You have these sentiments within you. Now, here's the only thing about it. The memory is tricky. The mind of the human is tricky. As Paul Simon said in one of his songs, a man hears what he wants to hear and disregards the rest. The song, I believe, was The Boxer. A man hears what he wants to hear and disregards the rest. That's the way my internal mind works. It remembers what it wants to remember and disregards all that I don't want to remember. Just puts it out of mind. So I have, just like in those little places that I was telling you about in Facebook, I have my own little snippet column that I go to. And I go to it quite often now. Why do I go there? Because I have decided to hold in my mind things that are positive, loving, and things that are not dishonorable in any sense. I don't say, I was. I say, I am. Each of us must remember this about our lives. Memorial Day, yes, it's a good thing to call it as opposed to just simply Decoration Day, because Decoration Day doesn't really hold for us that which we really are doing or are experiencing. We are experiencing memories and creating a memorial for those who have died in the cause of protecting those of us who have not served. It's a loss for every family. It's a loss for every mother and father, for every brother and sister, for every one of us. We experience this loss, but we still hold on to that which we choose to remember. It's a good thing that we do. So I ask you on this coming up day tomorrow, if you can't go and decorate these people, hold that decorative thought in your mind for each one of them who you may have lost or who your family has lost. Remember, though, that that person isn't a was. That person is an am and continues to be throughout all of time. Isn't that a wonderful thought? It is for me. I hope Each one of you can experience that as well in a very positive way. Eliminate any sort of judgment over it. Eliminate any sort of time that has passed over it. Preserve your memories, as Paul Simon said as well in a song called Bookends. Preserve your memories. They're all that's left you. God bless each one of you.